On November 28, 2016, a LAMIA Airlines flight LAMIA 2933 was about to fly from Santa Cruz, Bolivia to Medellin, Colombia. The flight took about 4 hours and 20 minutes. There were 77 people on board, including 4 crew members. The flight was chartered by a football club. The purpose of the trip was to participate in the first leg of the South American Cup final away game. Among the remaining 73 passengers, there were 21 journalists, club directors, players and coaches. In fact, the original flight plan was to fly directly from Sao Paulo, Brazil to the destination at noon, but the application for the route was rejected 3 times by the Brazilian Civil Aviation Administration. The reason was that the aircraft it must be a Brazilian plane, otherwise it is not allowed. There are direct charter flights between Brazil and Colombia. As a last resort, the team decided to take Bolivian Airlines Flight 793 from Sao Paulo, Brazil to Santa Cruz, Bolivia, and then transfer to LAMIA Airlines Flight 2933 to the destination. It is said that this is the picture of the players on Flight 793. At 4:25 p.m. local time in Bolivia, Flight 793 arrived at Santa Cruz International Airport in Bolivia. The aircraft operating LAMIA Airlines Flight 2933 is an Avro AJ85 aircraft with registration number CP2933. The Avro AJ85 is produced by the British Avro Aircraft Company. The regional jet is equipped with 4 engines and is 17 years old. The captain of this flight is 36 years old and the co-pilot is 47 years old. There is one thing to be explained here. According to the information of Bolivian Airlines Flight 793, which is the flight that transported the team from Brazil to Bolivia, the passengers' luggage was 1,062 kilograms, including fuel. The total weight of the aircraft was 42,148 kilograms. This is slightly higher than the maximum takeoff weight of the aircraft, which is 41,800 kilograms. There is another problem. The aircraft carried a total of 9,073 kilograms of fuel. This is slightly lower than the total capacity of the 3 fuel tanks, which is 9,362 kilograms. Normally, the fuel composition of the aircraft should be taxiing the fuel during the flight plus the fuel for emergency use. The aircraft should have 12,052 kilograms of fuel. However, the crew only prepared 9,073 kilograms. So according to the regulations, unless the aircraft is equipped with auxiliary fuel tanks, it cannot perform this mission. At 6:18 FM local time in Bolivia, Flight 2933 took off. After takeoff, the crew discussed whether there was enough fuel, and even planned to refuel at Bogotá Airport. At 7:49 local time, the crew called the Bogotá Control Center and requested confirmation of the route. However, the crew immediately decided to fly directly to the destination as planned. At 8:03 p.m. the crew conducted an approach check. They were going to land at Córdoba International Airport, which is the second largest airport in Colombia. It is next to Medellin, the second largest city in Colombia. Because the runway length of Medellin's airport is not enough to handle a large number of international flights, many planes going to Medellin will land at another airport not far away. Córdoba International Airport has a runway length of 3,500 meters. It is located on a plateau with an altitude of 2,141 meters. The weather around the airport was okay at the time. The wind speed was about 2 knots and the visibility was more than 10 kilometers. At 8:16 p.m., the crew requested Bogotá Air Traffic Control to fly directly to a waypoint called Nelso. This is a waypoint located between Bogotá and Medellin. They thought this would save some fuel. At 9:39 p.m., the aircraft was handed over to the Medellin approach station and was instructed to go to the VO2 positioning station to circle and wait. At this time, a Colombian Flight 8170 decided to make an alternate landing at Medellin Airport due to a fuel leak. This overlapped with the airport where Flight 2933 was going to land. At 9:43 p.m. the crew asked the ATC if they could circle at another waypoints. The ATC agreed. Therefore, Flight 2933 circled farther from the airport. At 9:49 p.m., the plane had just finished circling for the first time and was about to start the second circle. This was the first time the crew mentioned the fuel shortage to the ATC. According to the ATC's instructions, the plane continued to circle and wait at the waypoints. The plane would be guided to the locator later. At 9:50 p.m., the ATC allowed another plane that had been waiting for a long time to enter the airport first. But 1 minute later, the crew reported to the tower that they were short of fuel and asked if they could enter the airport first. The tower agreed and cancelled the other plane's approach procedure. At 9:53:36 p.m., the flaps were lowered to 24 degrees. But just 9 seconds later, at 9:53:45 p.m., the No.3 engine of the plane shut down. At 9:53:58 p.m., the No.4 engine also shut down, but strangely, the crew did not inform the tower about the engine shutdown. At 9:55:04 p.m., the No. 2 engine of the plane also shut down at 9:55:41 p.m. The No. 1 engine of the plane also shut down due to fuel exhaustion. At this time, all electrical systems failed. The flight data recorder also stopped recording. The last record showed that the plane's speed was 115 knots and the altitude was 4,746 meters. At 10:15 p.m., the plane crashed through the woods 16 kilometers before the runway. Because the fuel was exhausted, the plane did not catch fire after the crash. However, only 6 of the 77 people on board survived. After the accident, the Bolivian Civil Aviation Administration immediately revoked the license of LAMIA Airlines. After an in-depth investigation, it was found that the fuel warning light was on as early as 9:15. At this time, they were 180 nautical miles away from the destination airport and only 77 nautical miles away from Bogotá. If they had flown to Bogotá immediately at this time, this accident would not have happened. After the warning light came on, the crew did not inform the air traffic control until 9:47, and when the air traffic control asked them to wait in the air, they actually agreed. They did not rush to approach the airport until the engines were shut down. Why did they fly until the fuel ran out? As mentioned earlier, the fuel carried by the aircraft should be just enough. However, this did not count the fuel consumed at the circling point. The crew did not start the second circle until 9:49. The plane reported the lack of fuel to the tower, but did not declare an emergency until the second lap was almost completed. The plane flew 44 nautical miles at the circling point, which was only 16 nautical miles from the airport. If the crew had requested priority approach at the first time, the plane would have been able to land safely. After nearly a year of investigation, the accident investigation team released an investigation report in 2017. The main causes of the accident are as follows: lax management of LAMIA Airlines, and poor supervision by the Bolivian Civil Aviation Authority, because the aircraft fuel tank can only store about 9,300 kilograms of fuel, but this mission including the reserve fuel, up to 12,000 kilograms were needed. This directly led to the shutdown of 4 engines due to fuel exhaustion. 2 crew members had problems. They knew that the fuel supply was urgent, but they did not make any alternate landing plan, nor did they notify the air traffic control of the emergency. Indirect factors such as opening the landing gear in advance led to increased resistance. At the end of the story, Colombia's national team gave the championship of this final to the opponent, and I won the South American Football Fair Play Award.